Welcome to ETA Pro. The subject for today is fluid lines and fittings. This channel helps provide guidance to aircraft maintenance technicians, AMTs, who wants to become familiar with the requirements and to successfully obtain a FAA Airframe and Powerplant certificate. Don't forget to subscribe and activate the bell notification for future videos. Let's get started. Which tubings have the characteristics high strength, abrasion resistant, necessary for use in a high pressure 3000 psi hydraulic system for operation of landing gear and flaps? Corrosion resistant steel, annealed, or quarter H? Which of the following statements is true regarding minimum allowable bend radius for 1.5 inches OD outside diameter or less aluminum alloy and steel tubing of the same size? The minimum radius for steel is greater than for aluminum. Excessive stress on fluid or pneumatic metal tubing caused by expansion and contraction due to temperature changes can best be avoided by providing bends in the tubing. A 3/8 inch aircraft high pressure flexible hose as compared to 3/8 inch metal tubing used in the same system will have equivalent flow characteristics. The material specifications for a certain aircraft require that a replacement oil line be fabricated from 3/4 of an inch, 0.072, 50/52-0 aluminum alloy tubing. What is the inside dimension of the tubing? The inside dimension is 0.606 inch. When a Teflon hose has been in service for a time, what condition may have occurred and or what precautions should be taken when it's temporarily removed from the aircraft? The hose may have developed a set or have been manufactured with a preset shape. It must be supported to maintain its shape. When installing bonded clamps to support metal tubing, remove paint or anodizing from the tube at clamp location. Which of the following hose materials are compatible with phosphate ester-based hydraulic fluids? 1. Butylene. 2. Teflon. 3. Bonaine. 4. Neoprene. It's going to be 1. Butylene and 2. Teflon. Scratches or nicks on the straight portion of aluminum alloy tubing may be repaired if they are no deeper than 10% of the wall thickness. Hydraulic tubing which is damaged in a localized area to such an extent that repair is necessary may be repaired by cutting out the damaged area and utilizing a switch tube fitting to join the tube ends. Which of the following statements are correct in reference to flare fittings? 1. AN fittings have an identifying shoulder between the end of the threads and the flare cone. 2. AC and AN fittings are considered identical except for material composition and identifying colors. 1. AN fittings have identifying shoulders between the end of the threads and the flare cone. From the following sequence of steps, indicate the proper order you should use to make a single flare on a piece of tubing. So the proper order will be slip the fitting nut and sleeve on the tube. Then 1. Place the tube in the proper size hole in the flaring block. 6. Center the plunger or flaring pin over the tube. 2. Project the end of the tube slightly from the top of the flaring tool about the thickness of a dime. 5. Tighten the clamp bar securely to prevent slippage. And finally 4. Strike the plunger several light blows with a lightweight hammer or mallet and turn the plunger 1/2 turn after each blow. Rolling type flaring tools are used to flare X, X, and X tubing, soft copper, aluminum, and brass. Which statement is true regarding the variety of symbols utilized on the identifying color code bands that are currently used on aircraft plumbing lines? Symbols are always black against a white background regardless of line content. In most aircraft hydraulic systems, 2 pieces of tube connectors consisting of a sleeve and a nut are used when a tubing flare is required. The use of this type connectors eliminates the possibility of reducing the flare thickness by wiping or ironing during the tightening process. Metal tubing fluid lines are sized by wall thickness and outside diameter in 1/16 of an inch increments. When installing a castle nut and the nut castellation does not align with the copper pinhole in the bolt within the torque range, the acceptable practice is to change the nut or washer and try again. Which statement concerning Bernoulli's principle is true? The pressure of a fluid decreases at points where the velocity of the fluid increases. When flaring aluminum tubing for the use with AN fitting, the flare angle must be 37 degrees. What is an advantage of a double flare on aluminum tubing? More resistant to damage when the joint is tightened. The primary purpose of providing suitable bends in fluid and pneumatic metal tubing runs is to prevent excessive stress on the tubing. The best tool used when cutting aluminum tubing or any tubing of moderately soft metal is a hand-operated wheel-type tubing cutter. 1. Bonded clamps are used for support when installing metal tubing. 2. Unbonded clamps are used for support when installing wiring. Regarding the above statements, both 1 and number 2 are true. The term cold flow is generally associated with impressions left in natural or synthetic rubber hose material. A gas or fluid line marked with a letter PHDAN is used to carry a hazardous substance. Which statements about military standard flareless fittings is or are correct? 1. During installation, MS flareless fittings are normally tightened by turning the nut a specific amount rather than being torqued. New MS flare fittings, tubing fittings should be assembled clean and dry without lubrication. And 3. During installation, MS flareless fittings are normally tightened by applying a specific torque to the nut. 1. During installation, MS flareless fittings are normally tightened by turning the nut a specific amount rather than being torqued. The maximum distance between end fittings to which a straight hose assembly is to be connected is 50 inches. The minimum hose length to make such a connection should be 52.5 inches. In a metal tubing installation, tension is undesirable because pressurization will cause it to expand and shift. A scratch or nick in aluminum tubing can be repaired provided it does not appear in the heel of a bend. Which statement is true regarding flattening of tubing in bends? Flattening by not more than 25% of the original diameter is permissible. A certain amount of slack must be left in a flexible hose during installation because when under pressure, it contracts in length and expands in diameter. What is the color of an AN steel flare tubing fitting? Black. Flexible hose used in aircraft system is classified in size according to the inside diameter. Flexible lines must be installed with a slack of 5 to 8% of the length. If a flare tube coupling nut is over-tightened, where is the tube most likely to be weakened or damaged? At the sleeves and flare junction. Which coupling nut should be selected for use with half-inch aluminum oil lines, which are to be assembled using a flare tube ends and standard AN nuts, sleeve, and fittings? AN-818-8. Hope you found this video informative. Question for you is, what subject you find it difficult to study? Share your comments below this video.